rings the wrong doorbell, ends up getting shot above the left eye, and I believe in the arm, somehow survives. He's home, last I checked, already, partially because the people in his family have medical experience, so they're able to care for him. Perhaps if that was not the case, he would still be in the hospital. Good that he survived. Young kid. Seems promising. But let's talk about what we like to talk about on this channel in terms of media and how media covers things. Media bias, partisan media, left wing, right wing, right? So, what I expect from the right. Phone was getting too hot on the dash there. What do I expect from? Let's turn. That's fine. What do I expect from right wing media? Okay. So there is a racial component to this. I believe that's what the prosecutor said, I think. But also, it's a so-called old white guy. This kid is a so-called black guy, black kid, right? And the idea that he just rang the wrong doorbell and ends up getting shot is definitely something that you can expect a lot of people will suspect there's a racial component to it. And then absolutely the media is going to jump on that. So, from a right-wing perspective, part of your rhetoric is that racism doesn't really exist. No, it does exist, but it's not really a big thing anymore. We've kind of gone past that. We have all these programs and equal opportunity things, and you have today black people have more opportunity than whites now. They got more rights than whites. That's what we heard some I think some police officers said on a leaked audio, right? So your rhetoric is racism, yeah, it's a thing, but don't worry about it. It's not really that big of a deal. Racism, that's back in the day. Who talking about no racism today? Come on, man. We had a black president, right? So that's your rhetoric, right? So a story about an old white guy that shot a black kid that the media is going to jump on and focus on the racial component. Naturally, the most profitable, right? It's not about being honest or informing the audience. It's about profit and views and engagement. The most profitable angle that goes with your rhetoric is to do the classic thing, like anything about race, downplay it, right? If liberal media is saying something is racist, look into it. See, is it actually racist? And if you see evidence that it's not actually racist, that's great content. Oh, they're saying this is racist and it's not racist. The guy is actually married to a black woman, right? That's what you do, right? And that's where you have evidence that it might not actually be about racism, right? If you don't actually have any evidence, then just kind of pretend like you do, or just highlight that there is no evidence, right? So, it could look like, what we know seems to indicate the guy was racist, right? If that's the case, but you don't have any hard evidence. The guy didn't actually say the N word. He doesn't have a track record of doing anything, whatever. He has a coworker that's brown skin, and the coworker said he never had any problems with him, right? Anything at all that you could jump onto and say, well, look, there's no evidence that he's like. That's the perspective, right? So being that is the model, that's the profitable model, I would expect the right-wing approach is, number one, smears. I know people who use the word smears, usually it's not smears, it's just somebody calling out somebody that they want to be affiliated with, or somebody they like. But literal smears is one approach, or expose, right? So smear is where they're going to go and try to paint this kid as he's a gangster or he's doing bad stuff, but they don't actually have any evidence of that. right? They're gonna reach and say, "Ooh, look, he took a picture with some guys that look kind of rough, right? So look at him, he's clearly a gangster, right? So that would be the smear angle. So that's one approach that I would expect right wing media to take, to smear the kid, right? The other approach, and the preferable approach, because they don't want to lie. No one in media really wants to lie, right? That's not the point, is to lie, right? The point is to push certain rhetoric for profit or political reasons. So it's preferable that they can actually find some dirt. Like, all the pictures they show are of him when he was younger and he looks all nice and innocent. But we found some pictures of him, and man, he's got gang signs, he's holding up guns. I mean, there's a picture of him slapping an old lady on the butt, right? So that will be the expose. So that's one of the two angles that, from a right-wing media, that's what I expect them to do. That's going to be the approach. Let's go find some dirt on this kid, right? Or let's manufacture some dirt. Let's smear him, make him look like a thug, try to have a counter narrative. They're trying to make you look innocent, but look at him, he looks thuggish, right? Or even better, find out that there is some thuggish stuff to him and go point out, oh, they're trying to say he just rang the doorbell. Look what they're hiding from you. Now, even though the motives are very dishonest, in the perspective of if they are able to actually expose him, do an expose, that's valid. It's bad that it's a dishonest, cynical thing that they're doing, but if this kid is actually like a thug, and he did something to instigate this, it's good that we know. We need to know the truth of what really happened, right? It just sucks that the only reason that anyone has to bring that out is a cynical, dishonest, manipulative reason, right? We're gonna get to left-wing media, liberal media, how they're gonna approach this story, but that's gonna be, if there's anything negative about this kid, it's gonna absolutely come from the right-wing media. No one on the left was gonna have any interest in pushing that out. The right is gonna be very, very motivated to smear the kid or expose the kid, or a little bit of both, right? Point out that we went and did some investigation. We found out that this kid has a record of like harassing neighbors, and that particular neighbor, he was harassing him many times, and the guy got fed up and blah blah blah. Now, and this is a level of dishonesty again from right wing media. Even if that's the case, he was like harassing this old guy, right? They had like a beef going back and forth or whatever. They're so dishonest, so savage, so lacking of integrity, that they will jump on that and present things. They won't actually, they're not bold enough to go out and say this, but they'll present it as if. They'll present it as if that justifies the shooting. They're not going to say that justifies the shooting, but that's going to be the message that many people listening will get from it, right? Oh, they're making all this big deal about this innocent kid, and he plays music and he has good grades. Meanwhile, he was harassing the old guy. So that justifies the old guy shooting and possibly killing him? No, right? And some of the more clever ones, like a Ben Shapiro, might slip that in somewhere in their long diatribe, might slip in like, listen guys, I'm not saying he was right and he was wrong. He was absolutely wrong. He shouldn't have done it. But then the whole rest of the video is all about going after the kid and smearing the kid and pointing out, oh, liberal media, they don't want to tell you about this stuff, right? So that's what I expect the right-wing perspective. That's how they're going to report on this. There's going to be no interest in honesty and, let's do some real reporting and journalism. No, it's all about what's going to get the most engagement, what's the best fit for our rhetoric that we like to push out, right? And that's going to be the perspective. Hey, Jot, what's up? Good to see you, man. Smearing someone who was shot is pretty sick. You're correct as usual. Smearing someone in general, actual smearing someone. No. Again, typically when I see a video title that says such and such smeared somebody, usually is not smearing. It's like calling them out or saying something that you don't like. Like, let's say, for example, like I think Marianne Williamson to me looks like a grifter. She said a lot of stuff that's suspect to me, right? And me making your video saying that is me smearing her. That's not smearing her, right? it is my opinion that she looks like a grifter, right? That's not smearing, right? I think she appears. I don't think I don't have like a super high level of confidence. Like she's absolutely a grifter. She gives me grifter vibes, but me sharing my opinion about her just because it's negative does not make it smearing, right? Now, if I have no reason to believe that she's a grifter, right, and I'm just like saying that just to, make her look bad, then that would be smearing, right? But if I generally think that she gives off grifter vibes, saying that is not smearing, right? But as far as the kid, smearing anyone is bad. But I guess yes, I think it makes it worse because it's a child. And then it makes it even worse that it's a child who could have died, right? He got shot. It's kind of messed up, and it looked like he had a lot of promise. Well, he has a lot of promise. So yeah, so that's enough of the right wing perspective. Now let's talk about the left wing perspective, right? And in the end, I'm gonna talk from my perspective, being a person who's not in the middle. It's funny how people think you got to lean in left or lean in right, otherwise you're centrist. I'm not about left or right or being in the middle. Like let's find a middle ground. Fuck the middle ground. I want to know what the truth is. Right? That's where I'm at. Truth could be over here on the left, could be on the right, could be in the middle, could be center, whatever. Wherever truth is, that's where I want to be. That's where I'm at. Not a centrist. Right? But I'll give my perspective last. Let's give the liberal bias perspective. First of all, number one, almost no one in left wing or liberal media is going to have any interest in interrogating the story, looking into this kid. Did he do something to warrant this? Not that it justifies getting shot, but contrast this with how I looked at the story, and you'll understand. I'll get to that. But there's no interest in challenging the story, right? Because again, media in America, it's all about engagement. It's all about clicks. So what's the most engagement and clicks you can get from a left-wing perspective covering the story? The racial component. Some racist old white guy is shot some kid who just rang the wrong doorbell, right? That tagline is so profitable. That's something that's going to resonate with a lot of audiences. The poor innocent black kid rang the wrong doorbell and he gets shot in the eye. It's driving while black, right? And then you get into all the rhetoric about they fear you just for being black. They feel intimidated. They feel threatened just because of your skin color, right? Whether it applies or not, right? That's to where people's minds are going to go. So if you're in liberal media, knowing this, you'd want to push that, right? That's what your audience wants to hear. That's what they're going to react to the most. So you lean into that, and you black kid, he just rang the wrong doorbell. That's how racist this country is, and this and that, and racism, and this old white guy, blah blah blah. Now, that stuff could actually be true, right? But the point is not about truth. In liberal media, they have no more sort of dedication to truth than the right-wing media does, right? It's all about views and engagement. So again, there's no interest in investigating the story, right? The minute that you see in your social media feed, white guy shoots a kid, you're like, yes, another racism story for you to talk about. And you go and you make a story and you bring up all the other racist things and you connect it and whatever. Now, this might have nothing to do with racism. The kid could have done something that led to it. There could be some other details, but you would intentionally not look at that stuff, not talk about that stuff, because that's not good for business. What's good for business is lean in on another racism, whatever, right? That's going to be the left-wing or liberal perspective. And that's very profitable, because think about your audience, how they're going to react to, I mean, just in terms of emotions. A young kid, and all he did is rang the wrong doorbell, right? And that's terrifying, right? To think that you could ring the wrong doorbell and end up shot in the eye. So that also is profitable, because a lot of people have a reaction of like, that could have been my kid, that could have been me, right? So again, not that any of that stuff is incorrect. Not that liberal media will be incorrect on the story, but they will absolutely be very vulnerable to misreporting the story, because again, there'll be no interest in investigating what happened. There'll be no interest in what really happened. They said he rang the wrong doorbell, but is that what really happened? Is there any history behind this? Like, let's look and see. No, no interest whatsoever, right? This story fits a certain profitable narrative. Let's lean in on that. Let's go and talk about it. If some other stuff comes out later, maybe we'll report it, maybe we won't, but who really cares? What I care about right now is this story is going to get me a lot of views as is. So I'm going to go with what I see in my social media feed, and I'm going to push it out there, right? Meanwhile, right-wing media, their whole purpose is to go and poke holes in the story, right? Anything to not have a valid story about racism, right? That's the focus, right? Actual story about racism. Oh, no, the kid was a thug, or he didn't really ring on the wrong doorbell. He was going around banging on. It's a prank that they do, and they try to scare people, and it's not just knocking, ringing the doorbell. What they do is they come up to the door and they hit it with a rock, and then they run, and then they film it on video and they laugh, right? That's what they were really doing. Liberal media is trying to mislead you, right? That's how they get down. That's how they get down. So how do I look at the story? Not as a centrist, not as a left-winger, not as a right-winger, as someone who lives in reality, someone who is tethered to, as best I can, I am human, I'm not perfect, to objectivity, right? I want to look at things, in the world of reality, not in a world of rhetoric and confirmation bias and what I want to believe to be true and what my tribe will react the best to. Like, fuck all of that, right? So how do I look at this, right? When I first hear about the story and I hear a kid get shot in the eye because he rang the wrong doorbell, instantly my spidey sense kicks in and I say, this story sounds a little fishy. In this country, it's not too surprising necessarily that this would have happened, and not even necessarily because of racism either. A lot of wackos in this country, but initially the story doesn't sit right with me, so I would have an interest to investigate, not to smear, not because I'm running away from racism like right-wing media, like that's their perspective, but I would share their curiosity in knowing like more about this kid, more about what actually happened. I would recognize, I recognize instantly that a lot of people were just repeating the rang the wrong doorbell and whatever, and I've seen this playbook before, right? Something like this comes out, and like I just described, the focus is on this fits a good narrative, it's very profitable, so I'm just gonna go and echo it out, but I'm not gonna really investigate. I will, as a progressive media channel that constantly calls out mainstream media for their poor reporting and pushing stuff out that it's not true or they didn't really look into it. I'm now going to do the same thing that I complain about them doing, right? Because it's profitable for me to do so in this case, right? So I'm going to jump in and I'm just going to repeat. So CNN or MSNBC said, oh, this kid rang the wrong doorbell, and I'm just going to go and report to my followers, hey, look, this racist white guy shot it, right? No investigation, no looking into stuff and whatever, right? No interest in that stuff whatsoever. But again, I instantly was curious to know whether the story is true. Is there more context to the story? Is there a history between the kid and this old guy? I don't instantly go to racism. I would not be surprised if it's racism, but that's not something I instantly, yeah, this is definitely a racist white guy. I don't know. I don't know the guy. I don't know anything about the guy, right? If it comes out that he's racist, I won't be surprised. I won't be like, oh wow, this guy is actually racist and he shot a kid because he's fearful of him. I won't be shocked about that. But I want to know more. I don't want to just be repeating what people are saying. I don't want to just take them at good, mainstream media that they really looked into it. But here's the thing: almost no one in left-wing or liberal media has any interest in knowing any more details about this, what really happened, or did the kid no interest whatsoever, because that's not profitable, and their audience is not interested either. Their audience does not want to hear anything bad about this kid, right? The idea that he's just this nice kid and he just rang the wrong doorbell, that is a narrative that they will instantly sort of gravitate towards and become sort of fond of and attached to. And if you in progressive media challenge that narrative, you're probably not going to get a good response. And I think a lot of these guys know that, so that's part of the motivation to not really investigate, right? Just repeat out whatever mainstream media is saying, and then if it comes out that it's not right, then you're like, oh, mainstream media, these guys, right? When you didn't investigate yourself. Um, I have my suspicions. Again, is there any context to whatever happened? Not that that would justify him being shot. To be clear, I don't want to sound like how Ben Shapiro would phrase it, but that's kind of what he would say. But that's legitimately, I don't. There's nothing. Well, I don't say there's nothing, but highly unlikely that this kid did anything that warranted getting shot. Did he do something that could have instigated it? Perhaps. Um, it's possible, and I want to know if that's the case or not. Now, examining all the evidence that we have so far, things are leaning towards the story might actually be fairly accurate the way it's being reported by mainstream media or liberal media. I'm basing that on the kid, from what I'm told, if this is accurate, he's doing very well in school. Seems very intelligent. I think he's doing a bunch of AP courses. This does not fit the sort of the profile of a not to profile the kid, but doesn't fit the profile of a kid who would be out there, harassing people and doing stuff like that. But he's a kid, right? So anything's possible. But I'm leaning towards he probably is mostly the way he's been described by his mother and the mainstream media. Because again, I don't think it's very common to have a kid who's like doing really messed up things, who's doing well in school. It's possible, but not likely. Usually, the grades and school performance kind of goes with their conduct, how they treat others and things like that. That's been my experience anyway. What I've seen. I mean, how do I look at my own self? I mean, hmm, I wasn't. There was a time where I was really, really bad. I wasn't really doing my schoolwork. Grades were not that well. I got held back a grade, and at that point in time in my life, I was doing a lot of messed up things. I came from a good family, so never anything too serious. I didn't go around hurting people. Um, I wasn't part of a gang or anything like that, or whatever really bad things that kids do. Did have a couple of incidents where I stole things, like from a store. I did some shoplifting, I guess, as a isolated incident as a elementary school kid. So at that young age, I was doing stuff like that. Um, Later on in life, after 16, when I woke up, I got woke. I got woke at 16. I started taking school seriously. Um, my grades went up, and I wasn't doing that messed up stuff I was doing when I was younger. So yeah, in my own life, that my grades did match my behavior. How I was conducting myself outside of school matched my grades, right? My performance in school. So again, unlikely a kid, doing well in school like him, um, would be doing stuff that could lead to a guy wanting to shoot him. So if I were to guess, this might actually be a case of racism. Um, I can't think what else would drive a man his age, because it doesn't have to, like, for example, police brutality doesn't require racism, right? Police, that's a power thing. It could be race sometimes, but I think as a power thing, whatever your skin color, they're in power and you're not, that's the dynamic. But in this case, I mean, this is a private citizen, old guy, shooting a kid who either just knocked on the wrong doorbell, or let's say it comes out he was like harassing or whatever. I mean, I guess it could be 50-50, right? I mean, if he's a crazy enough guy to go shoot some kid just because the kid is like harassing him, maybe knocking on his door, or he threw something on his porch, or whatever. He threw some dog doo on his porch, or whatever. Like things kids do. If he's crazy enough to shoot a kid because of stuff like that, I don't think it really would matter what skin color the kid has. So that kind of a guy would shoot any kid doing that. So I think it could be racially related, or it might not be. And that is if the kid did something to instigate the situation. If he didn't do anything to instigate the situation, then it's leaning heavily on that it's racism, or the guy is just a nut job, right? I would want to look into the guy. I want to look into both. Look into the guy. Does he done something like this before? Has he have a history of violence? Does he have any kind of criminal record? Like what's this old guy's story? Um, and I'd want to look into the kid as well. What's the kid's story? Like other than what we're being told about him with the good grades and whatever the AP stuff. Like what is the story? And that's the objective way to look at it. You don't just focus on what feeds a certain narrative, right? One side wants to focus on let's find dirt on this kid. The other side wants to focus on let's find some dirt on this old guy, right? They would love to find out, he was a KKK member, or he was friends with a guy who was KKK, or he grew up in a home that was close to a KKK club, something KKK something, right? His initial is K, and then something. They would love to find some more dirt to lean into the story about this racism and look what this evil racist guy did. And people on the right want to do the opposite, lean in on the kid. So anyway, this is probably going to be the only objective video talking about this, because I can almost guarantee you everyone else is going to take one of the two approaches. Lean in on let's find dirt on the kid, or lean in on let's find dirt on the guy. All right, that's pretty much, that's American media in a nutshell. Might be something else there. An older person may take time getting to the door, and he heard somebody seemingly trying to enter in his mind and reacted. Yep. Maybe he's paranoid. Maybe somebody. That's the next thing. Somebody. He got robbed a couple times, right? And so he got super paranoid, and but then. Again, we're basing things. It's hard. That's why you want to investigate, right? We're basing stuff on what we're being told, right? But we know in the media, regardless of what kind of story it is, whose narrative it supports, we know that they will say stuff and it comes out that it's not actually what happened, right? They jump on a story. They want to be first. So did he really even ring the doorbell, right? This would not be the first time we hear a story like this, and it's like, he never rang the doorbell. He knocked on the door, and boy did he knock, like bang, bang, bang. He thought it was his friend's house, and he was trying to be funny, right? We find out he was trying to be funny, and he was like, boom, 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 this is the police. And the old guy who got robbed has some history. He looks out the window and he sees clearly not the police, and he's like, this guy's trying to rob me again. And he gets out there, and his brain is fried. He's old. He's a crazy old guy, and he comes out and he shoots some kid. I'm sure even if that's the case, there might be part of that might be some racial bias. In terms of when he's looking at this and saying this looks fishy, the fact that the kid had brown skin probably helped him to solidify that idea that this kid is trying to rob me. Right, so possibly if he had a different complexion, even though he would have been like, "This kid's trying to rob me," he might be a little bit like, yeah, "But is he?" And then and then that delay leads to him maybe not shooting him. So I wouldn't be surprised if the racial component could have been that way. So it didn't start because oh, there's a black kid at my door, let me go shoot him. But there's somebody at my door, and I think they're kind of shady, and I look out, and it's a black kid. Of course, those thugs. You know what I mean? Like that could have been the path. But we should all have a desire to know the truth about what happened, right? Rather than just simply automatically accept the rhetoric that we're told and get emotional, like, oh man, this poor kid, and he came and he knocked on the door, and this sucks, and this country's racist, and then take whatever, like however the media you watch is spinning it, like this racist white guy, and just accept it without any curiosity, right? That's not the way to be. especially after we've been burned so many times. Um, Separately, did you hear the Oklahoma issue dealing with the racist? Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mentioned it earlier in this stream. You've got to admit that there's a history, though. I'm sorry, but conservative media usually get things wrong or admit the second shot says a lot. Um, I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, I don't know that it's a typical thing that you just fire a single shot. If you're firing a shot, I mean, you intend to kill or to stop a threat, and usually one bullet doesn't do it. Um, if you're just trying to scare them off, you wouldn't actually be aiming at them and hitting them. You know what I mean? You'd be aiming at the ground or something. So you hit him in the eye. I mean, that's a headshot. What do you think he's trying to do? So, you know, details matter, right? It's a horrifying story. It says it all. How many approach it. If it doesn't disturb, then that's an issue. If it doesn't disturb, then that's an issue. Yeah, I'd have to agree on that one. All right, that's all I have to say on that. So thank you for watching. When you guys go and watch, you know, left-wing media versus right-wing media, see for yourself if they take an approach that seems kind of like how I predicted that they will. See if there's a focus in right-wing media to downplay and it wasn't racism and this kid was actually a bad kid, and that's the focus, right? And ask yourself why this is what they always do. It's not like it won't be an isolated thing. It's such a common thing that I can just predict it automatically. Like I know this is gonna be the approach. This is what they do. Racism happens. Oh, let's find out how we can debunk it. Oh, it wasn't really racism or something like that. Is what they do, right? And you look at 1 second. Let me see who's at my house. Somebody who's paying rent. That's who's at my house. That's all good. That's all good. Enjoy yourself. Do your thing. You're paying rent. You got no problems with me. Now I forgot what I was saying. Anyway, I think I've said enough. So this is the Debate Me channel. Debate me in the comment section below. Click on the like button, subscribe, smash that bell. Be well. Again, take a look at right-wing media. Take a look at left-wing media. See how they approach the story. And I mean, don't just take what I said as like that's the fact or whatever. Consider what I'm saying might be the truth, and confirm it yourself. Look and see what they're doing. See if it seems to match what I said. And then if it does, ask yourself why. Don't assume that I was correct in my assessment. Come up with your own assessment. Recognize that it does seem that they're doing what Debate Me channel said that they would do. But why do I think they're doing that? Do I think it's because of what Debate Me channel said, or can I come up with an alternative conclusion? Right? Again, I don't want to tell you guys what to think. I don't want to push an ideology, right? I don't want to push you in one direction or the other. Well, that's actually inaccurate. I want to push you in the direction of truth, right? So I want you to come to your own conclusions, but I want you to come to those conclusions based on truth. I don't want you to come to conclusions based on watching partisan media that manipulates you and pushes certain rhetoric and omit certain details and highlight certain details. I don't want you to make your assessments based on that. I want you to make your assessments based on truth, based on reality. And wherever that takes you, I'm fine with it, right? The only thing that I'm bothered by is when you guys come to conclusions based on lies and manipulated data. That's my problem, right? And that's what I try to solve on this channel. It's a thankless job, but I have volunteered to do it on this channel, and I'll continue to do so. All right, guys, enjoy all the support and all the likes that I will not be getting on this video because I'm not pushing out the rhetoric that people want to hear, but I'm gonna still keep doing it. All right, guys, until next time. Let me get my ass home to finish my my renovations. Try to get a lot of the, I don't know why I wouldn't get this done. I'm gonna set a goal, get all of the base molding done today. There's no reason. The complication is really the crown molding is a little bit more difficult, but I got my miter box. I can do my 45-degree cuts. Let's see if I can at least get that done, the base mold, and then maybe try to see if I get the crown mold done. The contractor is going to be done in a couple days, so They have allowed me to use their tools, which is awesome. They got really nice tools, so that's a big help to me. I can save money by doing work instead of, I have them do some work, I'm doing some work, right? So I'm saving money by not paying them to do this work, I'm doing it myself. And I'm also saving money by not buying the tools, I'm just borrowing their tools. So that's pretty cool. These guys have been really great. Show up on time, do great work, and allow me to do stuff like that, like borrow their tools. Like, that's really cool, and they're gonna be rewarded for it, right? Especially once I get everything in order, and I'm not broke anymore. And I start aggressively getting my house right, getting work done that needs to get done, improvements on the home. I will definitely be calling them up, and we''t get it done. And I'm looking forward to it. All right, guys, I'm out again. I'm out. I ain't pushing nobody left, man. Left, right, on left, right, right. Oh man, I've marched in so long. I haven't marched in so long. Ow!